And welcome to the Garfield Heights City School District regular board meeting. Tonight is Monday, June 13th, 2022. I call tonight's meeting to order. Mr. Saluka, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Juby.
Here.
Ms. Morrison.
Here.
Ms. Thomas.
Here.
Ms. King.
Let the record reflect that she's excused from tonight's
Okay,
meeting.
thank you. Mrs. Daniels.
Present. The next order on our agenda this evening is, can I have a motion to enter into executive? Second. Mr. Saluka, that was moved by Mr. Juby and second by Ms. Thomas, and that was a motion to enter into executive session for the purposes of discussions of negotiation and compensation of personnel. Is there any discussion relative to the motion on the table this evening? With there being no discussion, Mr. Saluka, can I have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Juby.
Yes.
Ms. Thomas.
Yes.
Ms. Morrison.
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels.
Yes, let the record reflect that we're entering into executive session at 6:04 p.m. for the purposes of discussing negotiations and compensation of personnel.
I think that's it. I'm looking for a flag right now.
Could you allow the records to reflect that we left out of executive session as of 6:32 PM, please? Just waiting for flag. Thank you. At this time, we are going to have a moment of silence and reflection before we pledge allegiance to the flag. And this evening, we're going to have Board Member Morrison lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance after our moment of silence. You can please stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Saluka, that was moved by Mr. Juby and second by Ms. Thomas. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, Mr. Saluka, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Juby,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels.
Yes. At this time, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes from our, and is there a second?
Second.
And is there any discussion? Mr. Saluka, the motion to adopt the minutes for May 6th, 9th, 18th, 19th, 24th, and 27th. Also special board meeting and May 16th, 2022 regular board meeting as presented was moved by Mr. Juby and it was seconded by Ms. Morrison. Can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Juby,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas, Mrs. Daniels.
Yes. At this time, I will give my board president's report. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to formally congratulate the seniors of the class of 2022. During a wonderful ceremony that took place on Thursday, May 27th at the Cleveland Public Auditorium, the success and accomplishments of our graduating class was on full display. As I interacted with our graduates that evening, I was reminded of how much promise Garfield Heights students have and the future contributions they will undoubtedly make in the next generation. Congratulations to the class of 2022. The remainder of the Garfield Heights City Schools finished school on Tuesday, June 7th, and I want to thank everyone in our Bulldog School family for doing the things necessary to make the 2021-2022 school year safe and successful. I particularly want to express our gratitude to the educational staff and the teachers of the Garfield Heights City Schools. for extra effort they made during school year to mentor and educate our students. They invested countless hours preparing for their work in the classroom, and many times their commitment to our children extended to helping shape our students away from the classroom as well. Many are here tonight, and we welcome our teachers, and we mightily thank them for their service. Good job to our teachers, once again, on a safe and successful school year. Thank you, guys. At a special Board of Education meeting held on Friday, May 28th, the board unanimously approved the hiring of Dr. Richard Reynolds as the next superintendent of the Garfield Heights City Schools. We are excited to have Dr. Reynolds in the district, and we will spend more time in the future getting to know him then. He officially begins August 1st, but he has already began investing time getting to know the operations of the district. Congratulations, Dr. Reynolds. Finally, on behalf of the Board of Education, we would like to thank Mr. Chris Hankey, our outgoing superintendent, for his service to the Garfield Heights City Schools. Mr. Hankey has spent approximately 20 years in the Garfield Heights City Schools, serving as a classroom teacher, assistant principal, director of special education, assistant superintendent, and for the last 3 years as superintendent. In the time that we have known one another, Mr. Hankey has always endeavored to put the students first. He has played significant roles in helping with strategic planning efforts and in promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in our district. Thank you, Mr. Hankey, for your efforts and for your time in Garfield Heights. We wish you well in your future endeavors. And that concludes my report this evening. At this time, we will have our committee reports. Is there any committee reports this evening? Ms. Thomas.
Good evening, everyone. Today, I just have a legislative committee report. During today's legislative meeting, we discussed the possibilities of our district possibly having a bond issue on the November or May ballot. We heard from Dave Riley, Jim Crooks, and Richard Manilow about various implications on the bond issue. This bond will cover a new middle school academic building and an academic sports complex. For the community, this bond issue would not increase the current millage as there are bond issues and levies that are falling off. The professional team made recommendations that show more success for a May ballot issue. The legislative committee will make a recommendation to the board very soon, as July 11th will be the first deadline for a November ballot issue. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Is there any questions relative to Ms. Thomas' committee report? If there's no questions relative to her report, are there any more reports this evening?
Madam President, I have a wellness update.
Ms. Morrison.
I just want to let parents know that if your child is considering playing a high school or middle school sport during the 2022-23 school year, that they will need an active sports physical. Sports physicals are good for 1 calendar year from the date. And right now on Friday, June 17th from 2 to 6, the University Hospital Hoosier Medical Center is giving away free sports physicals. So there is a link, it's on Facebook and it's, but if a parent would need that, they could contact me or the athletic department for that. So they could get their child signed up for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Is there any other committee reports this evening?
May I add,
Ms. Thomas?
Ms. Morrison, just to add, I believe there's an Eventbrite link as well, so they may be able to search it on Eventbrite.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hankey, do you know if that link to the free physicals is available on our website also? And if not, can we make sure that our families have access to it in the event that they do not connect to Facebook or social media?
We certainly can. I will ask Mr. Kuzma to send it to me. So we can do that. That's
Thank
your address. Or do you have the Eventbrite, Ms. Thomas?
Yeah, I can send it over.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanky. We just want to make sure we broaden our access. But I also do believe the district has emailed that out to the families too. So I'll actually receive the email about that. So are there any other committee reports this evening? If there's no more committee reports at this time, we are going to move to the portion of our agenda, which is the presentations. Mr. Hanky.
Thank you, President Daniels. Tonight, to kind of, I guess, wrap up the year, one of our most important offices, the Pupil Services Office. Dr. Gordon Dupree is the head of that office, and I've invited him here to present. He's here. Okay, I got a poll in front of me. Come on up.
Yeah,
Dr.
I'm
Dupree.
not hiding.
He has, due to, our power issue, has printed off some things for the Board of Education.
Good evening, board members, members of the table, audience. I'm going to summarize these slides that you see in front of you, obviously, because we don't have any power. When I walked in, somebody said, well, if you want to use that orange cord, you'll have power. So I said, well, we'll pass on that one. But I wanted to go over this briefly to let you know in the Pupil Services Department what the purpose of the department is, the kind of people who work in the department. We have, for example, health services, guidance counselor services. We have a social worker for the school district. There's one social worker. We have ELL, English Language Learner teachers, who have the responsibility for making certain that after 5 years, all of our kids are able to speak English well enough to pass our exams. One of the slides I gave you was, I think you'll find interesting. Look on the first page at the bottom right. I put the top 10 languages in the world as they are spoken by X number of people. Number 1 is Mandarin Chinese, 1.12 billion. And as you go down the list, you'll see English is third, and at the bottom is Punjabi. Now, we've had all of those native language children in our district at one time or another. And whether you speak English or not, the law says even if you only speak English, you have to teach English to kids who speak Japanese, Russian, Ukrainian, Chinese, whatever. So that's what our staff does in the ELL department. Safety and security is another part of the Pupil Services Department. And you probably have heard over the years that every year we have evacuations in all of our buildings. For the last 2 years, our evacuations have been all on foot. We didn't use any buses because we said in the event of an emergency, if buses are not available, we want kids to just start walking. And in addition, this year, we did simultaneous building evacuations. So Maple Leaf and middle school would leave their buildings at the same time in case there was a problem on that footprint, and it would just walk off to the areas of safety as we designated in the past. And I think it went very well. We have, see, before the pandemic, this is interesting. What we used to do before the pandemic was Elmwood and William Foster would walk to Trinity, where all the kids would meet in the gym. We would take attendance and they would go back to their buildings. And that was on foot, and it worked very well. Trinity was great with us in terms of letting our kids come in their buildings, in their gymnasium. We had this year, again, we had drug dogs right here at the high school. And we had 2 dogs from Garfield Heights and 3 dogs from Shaker Heights. And those dogs are very interesting. The officers told us that when they train them, many times in Austria or Europe, they don't train them in English. So if you ever hear the commands that they give, they're in German or Austrian. And you hear them with their bass voices when they bark. And we noticed even when they came to an air conditioned building, they huff a lot because they're hot. So they lay on the floor to cool off. So we always found that to be helpful. Even at the middle school in the past, we had the drug dogs. In terms of our health services, I'll tell you one part of one of these slides. Two of our buildings, well, all of our buildings have health aides, all of them. Two of our buildings have medical assistants. We have 2 registered nurses for the whole district, 1 secondary, 1 elementary, 2 medical assistants because they can give insulin shots. Any invasive procedure in our school district cannot be done by someone who's not trained. So the medical assistants work with kids for insulin shots. They get shots in the stomach sometimes for medication, that kind of thing. Now here's something that was fun for our parents. In this room, every year, we have pre-kindergarten registration. And we have the health department comes, the police department, teachers come, and we have stations set up against that wall over there where parents sign up to make an appointment to register their kids for school. And this is about an hour and a half exercise. In the past, we've had parents and kids take a bus right in front of the door here, because for some of the kids, it's the first time being on a bus. So that registration night is always a huge success for our families and kids. And you see the picture, I'm skipping back the pictures. Last, let's see, August, I called Gina Wilson and I said, we need to have some help for our Hispanic families because I think they're under-recognized, and she agreed with me. So what we did this school year is we had many people from the Hispanic community agencies come and meet with us. And we met 2 times at William Foster. First night, few people came. Sean came, Chris came that night. The second night was even better. We had more people come. We had agencies from, must have had, I'll say a dozen agencies. And we all lined up in the room. They had people doing blood pressure checks because we're looking at health for Hispanic families. Many of whom told us, we didn't know this existed because in our country where we came from, it was like right down the street. And here, nobody told us. So we have a meeting Thursday, Gina. We have another meeting this Thursday to plan for another Hispanic family night in the fall. Oh, now we had, I'm talking about agencies now. This is one of the things that I wanted to really focus on. We had 2 meetings on Zoom this past school year. And we invited all of our agency partners to join us. They all couldn't, but we invited them anyway. I told Chris, when I came here in 2011, we had like 11 agencies in the district. We now have 53. One of my conversations with Gina was, we need to bring in more agencies. And we also need to bring in agencies who are comfortable working with people of color. So not only did we do that, but we brought in agencies that are now in every building in our school district. And we've had times when it'll be Gina, my secretary Maria, and me. We vet everybody who comes into our district, whether the agency's been here forever or not. So one time, we got to tell you a funny story. One time we were having a meeting with an agency called Heart to Heart, as Juby Johnson and Dwayne Broyles. And we always meet with them over in their building. So Dwayne and Juby came in, they must have had 15 people with them, all males. And I said, that's what we need in our district so that people won't feel that there's a stigma for getting mental health services. And it's been phenomenal. In the 93 hearings we've had this year where parents had to be present, we had agencies in every single meeting, only one parent, only one parent denied services. And it's been phenomenal. And what we started doing this year was, since there are so many agencies here in Garfield Heights, I wanted them to be funneled through one person, so we know how many people are in William Foster or the high school or Maple Leaf. So I asked that Gina be the focal point for sending all referrals to her, and then Gina will then say, okay, I think Heart to Heart will take this one, We Can Overcome, take that one. And I think Gina's worked pretty well by doing it that way. When we look at the help that agencies provide to our families, COVID did more harm than we think to our kids when it came back to school. So many of our kids were just not ready to come back to school. They forgot how to behave. Of course, some of them skipped a grade because we were out for so long. So they had to deal with divorce, trauma, death, moving, social, emotional, all kinds of things that families suffer from when you have any kind of upheaval. And we had enough agencies to help these families, even though the summertime, to address some of these issues. I listed all 53 agencies on pages 7 and 8. And the last thing I want to mention before I sit down, yes, the last thing I want to mention before we sit down, I'm so glad to announce to you and the community that starting next Tuesday, right here, back there down the hall, we're having the Boys and Girls Club here every day from 8 to 4. Starting next Tuesday, running through August 12th, every day. And what I want to do with them is in the fall, I want to do an after-school program for our kids to go to so that they don't have to use the library for a rec center. And we'll be working on that. So, board members, I will stop there and I will entertain any questions that you might have or comments.
With the first, thank you, Dr. Dupree, for this report regarding the work that Pupil Services do for our district that expands just beyond getting students registered into our district. So thank you for sharing all these quality things that you guys provide to ensure that our students are ready to learn each and every day. One of my questions is, you guys did a presentation early in the year and you discussed how you were making these plans to roll out additional services to our students and things of that sort. Yes. Have we been able to see an impact on the reduction of referrals and behaviors as it relates to our students now that we're beginning to wrap them tight? Or will we be able to see that in the future because this is kind of a new?
This is kind of new, but we have seen some success. Gina, I know you are sitting down. Would you say we've been successful with some of these behaviors with our agencies working with our kids?
Yeah, I think it's a case by case basis, but I do believe that the additional services that we have been putting in the schools and being sure that we provide them with wraparound services. So not only providing students with support in in-school counseling, but ensuring that we're providing wraparound services for the family as a whole has definitely seen an impact in regards to at least setting that foundation and building relationships with our students and families, so they're able to trust us and to decrease that stigma to really touch them not only inside of school but at home as well. So I think from the families that I've spoken to and worked with personally, I think we can tap in as well to the building principals to see what they've seen in their building as well, to see if we have some type of reduction in referrals, and if so, and for the students receiving counseling or any type of mental health services, and regarding to them in particular, if we see any type of reduction, I think we would have to tap into the building to get more data and information from building for the students receiving services. But I would think as a wraparound service approach for the students and families in the community, we definitely have seen a change for those that are actually reaching out and interested in receiving services as well.
Thank you. And I would like to commend the work that you guys do within the community, because there has been a number of crises that people in my community have dealt with. And even when it's not during the school year, your team really reaches down and come and meet the families where they at and make sure that the whole family is taken care of. And just as a member of the Garfield Heights community, I appreciate the school coming out of the building and doing some of that work to support our families that's within the community. So that's very appreciative to just even have the school as that resource outside of school hours, that you care about our students even when they're not in the building. So I do, as a member of the city and community, appreciate that that is available to the members of our city. So thank you guys for that. Is there any other questions for Dr. Dupree regarding his presentation? If there's no other questions, again, thank you, Dr. Dupree and Gina, for your update regarding the Pupil Services Department. And we look forward to it again next year. At this time, the next item on our agenda is our superintendent's report. Mr. Hanke?
Thank you, President Daniels, members of the board. The 2021-22 school year officially concluded on Tuesday, June 7th, the last day of school. I would like to thank the staff, students, and families for making this year, despite the turbulence with which it began due to COVID, successful and safe during the time we were in school. I would also like to congratulate the class of 2022, who graduated from the Garfield Heights City Schools on Thursday, May 27th. There is perhaps no greater event during the school year than our annual commencement ceremony. And I would like to thank Ms. Hager and her staff for being so dedicated to making this event special for our graduates. Through summertime, the months of June, July, and August are alive in the Garfield Heights City Schools, with the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Ohio beginning their programming on Tuesday, June 21st. Thank you to their organization for their collaboration and compassion for the children of our community. And special thanks to Dr. Dupree for keeping this in the forefront as we brought them back into the district. This is my final report as superintendent of the Garfield Heights City Schools. I welcome Dr. Richard Reynolds to this job. He's sitting right over there. And already he and I have engaged on a number of occasions to get him prepared and up to speed. I want to thank everyone in the Bulldog family for their support over the years. In the year 2000, I began my public education career as a student teacher at Canton McKinley High School. And shortly thereafter, moved to Garfield Heights High School as a history teacher. And then moved up the ranks, as the saying goes, all the way to the superintendency of the district. That has been my home for the last 20 years. Many of you I'll miss dearly. I look back on the many accomplishments that have been made during the time that I have been in the district with great pride. Thank you to the parents, thank you to the students, thank you to the staff. I will miss my time in the Garfield Heights City Schools and cherish the many memories that have been made over the years. Thank you very much, President Daniels and members of the board. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Hanke. Is there any questions or comments relative to Mr. Hanke's report this evening?
President, thank you, Mr. Hanke, for your service. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Juby.
If there's no other comments, our next item on our agenda this evening is remarks from the public regarding the agenda items. All meetings of the board and board-appointed committees are open to the public. In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in an effective and efficient fashion, a maximum of 30 minutes of public participation may be permitted at each meeting. Each person addressing the board should give his or her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person is allotted 3 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. Persons desiring more time should follow the procedure of the board to be placed on the regular agenda. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board present and voting. Agendas are available to all those who attend board meetings. The section on the agenda for the board participation shall be indicated. Noted at the bottom of each agenda shall be a short paragraph outlining the board's policy on public participation at board meetings. This evening, we do not have anybody signed up for public participation as it relates to agenda items. So at this time, I'm asking the board for a motion to approve board.
Madam President, move and waive items 11 to 11.4.
Thank you, Mr. Judy. Is there a second on the motion to move and waive items 11.1 through 11.4?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Saluka, do you have anything you'd like to highlight relative to the items 11.4 through 11.4?
Just for 11.2 through 11.4, these are budgetary compliance items that the board needs to pass to be in compliance at fiscal year end per Ohio Revised Code requirements.
Thank you, Mr. Saluka. Any other discussion regarding the items on the floor? If there's no other discussion, Mr. Saluka, that was moved by Mr. Juby and second by Ms. Thomas. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Juby?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Morrison?
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels?
Yes. At this time, can I have a motion to approve board resolution agenda item 12.1 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, Mr. Saluka, that was moved by Mr. Juby and second by Ms. Morrison. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Juby?
Yes.
Ms. Morrison?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels?
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve personnel?
Madam President, move and waive items 13 through 19.
Is there a second on the motion to move and waive items 13 through 19?
Second.
Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, Mr. Saluka, that was moved and waived by Mr. Juby and second by Ms. Thomas. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Juby?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Morrison?
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels?
Yes.
Discussion, there are no recommendations of the superintendent to the board for policy, so should that be until 18?
Yes, you're absolutely correct, Ms. Thomas. We could amend that to the 18, Mr. Juby.
So moved.
Okay. We'll amend that.
Thank you.
So we're amending the motion to move and waive items 13 through 18.
Yes.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve contract agenda items 19.1 through 19.6 as presented?
So moved.
It would be 20.1. Present days through 20.6. So that's. That's my bad on the summary. It should be 20.1 through 20.6, President Daniels.
Okay.
My bad on the summary.
Making sure. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Saluka, the motion to approve contract agenda items 20.1 through 20.6 as presented was moved by Mr. Juby and second by Ms. Morrison. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Juby?
Yes.
Ms. Morrison?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels?
Yes. At this time, we have remarks from the public regarding miscellaneous school items. In our policy as relates to public participation at board meetings, all meetings of the board and board appointed committees are open to the public. In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in effective and efficient fashion, a maximum of 30 minutes of public participation may be permitted at each meeting. Each person addressing the board should give his or her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person is allotted 3 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. Persons desiring more time should follow the procedure of the board to be placed on the regular agenda. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board present and voting. Agendas are available to all those who attend board meetings. The section of the agenda for public participation shall be indicated. Noted at the bottom of each agenda shall be a short paragraph outlining the board's policy on public participation at board meetings. We do have members people who have signed up to participate. And our first person is Julie Dempsey. And allow the record to show Ms. Dempsey is here.
Yes.
And if you could just state your address to confirm it. Record.
14500 Bays Avenue in Lakewood. Okay, that's.
That's good right there. Good.
All right, my name is Julie Dempsey. I'm a teacher at the middle school and the chair of the Garfield Heights Teachers Association Organizing Committee. I've been teaching for a total of 12 years and 3 years in the district. I would like to take a couple minutes of your time to discuss what the Teachers Association is striving to accomplish for our students and to improve our schools. I feel strongly that these 3 areas of focus will have a huge impact on student achievement, school climate, and overall progress in the district. My first major point of focus is safety. It's a no-brainer that schools should be a safe place for everyone who enters them. Unfortunately, this year, there have been numerous safety issues that I've witnessed and heard about within the district. Students have come up to me upset because they don't feel safe and concerned because they are very aware of the lack of consistency when it comes to student consequences. This isn't a normal thing that happens in all school districts. I've been in several other districts with successful policies that allow students, staff, and administration to use consistent and predictable steps which result in preventing a lot of the issues I've seen here. Building policy or lack of policy is a major contributor to the frustration that students and staff are experiencing when we face these difficult situations. The second major point is success for our students. If anyone wants to see students succeed and grow in school, it is first their parents. But the second most concerned person is often the teachers who have them in class. This means that teachers need professional development that is well planned, forward thinking, and meaningful to their content areas built right into our school calendar. This year, we only had 5 professional development days. Within those full work days, very little structured PD was actually planned. We often didn't even receive a schedule of what we were doing until the day of or day before. While those days of PD often felt like a waste of time, I was then required by administration to complete 40 hours and an entire work week of additional professional development on my own time at a pay rate much lower than my own. This took time away from my family and small child and made it even more frustrating that our actual school PD was so poorly planned. The last major point we are trying to achieve is more stability for our students. Students deserve to have teachers who want to stick around from year to year, because in school, teachers are the ones who have the biggest impact on students each and every day. Having a stable teaching staff increases academic growth, builds a strong culture and climate, and allows students to have a larger support system within the school building. However, when teachers feel undervalued, unappreciated, and unheard, they often leave seeking something better. The Teachers Association estimates that we already have up to 25 teachers resigning this year. This is a 20% increase from our already high average of 20 teachers leaving every year over the past 7 years, excluding COVID. And sadly, there is still a month left in the teacher hiring season. This is clear data that our staff turnover rates are a major issue. And I ask administrators and the board to begin listening to their teachers to learn why this is happening. The Teachers Association has collected data from many of our recently resigned teachers, and we realized that we were hearing the same sentiments over and over. We thought it would be important for you as the leaders of this district to hear what we have been hearing. That's why we've invited several amazing and well-respected teachers who have decided to leave our district to tell their stories. They have nothing to gain by speaking here. However, they chose to be here tonight because they care about the district and want to see it turn into a place that is thriving.
Thank you, Ms. Dempsey. Dave Shalero. If you can just confirm your address for us.
23919 Edgehill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's good to see you this
Yeah, it's good
evening.
to see you guys too. Thank you for allowing me to come and speak today. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Dave Shalero. I am a very proud graduate of Garfield Heights High School and also a former employee of Garfield Heights City Schools. During my 6 years working with the district, I served in several various roles. Started out as just the detention guy and moved my way on to a classroom aide and eventually a language arts teacher teaching 8th grade at the middle school. I've coached several sports from varsity football, track and cross country, and also coached middle school girls basketball. So I've had the benefit of seeing our students grow from 6th grade all the way to seeing them graduate, working with them as athletes. I am deeply appreciative of the years I did spend at Garfield and the unique opportunity I had to watch students grow. We are a district with many wonderful families, teachers, administrators, and opportunities. And for that, I am grateful to have the time I spent here. We're also a district with many challenges, which is why I'm here speaking today. I love Garfield Heights. I love the people here. I love the people I worked with. And I began my career at Garfield with the intention of staying there my entire career. But despite the many fond memories I have been working with the district, by the end of my 6th year, I was already burned out and in what felt like a desperate need of a change. I found there were 3 distinct reasons for my departure from Garfield Heights City Schools. Firstly, was a lack of consistency. Consistency in what we were expected to teach, consistency in what school discipline looked like, consistency in what was expected of teachers. Consistency in our expectations for students. Over my 6 years, it felt like every couple weeks, there were either new programs, expectations, or a lack thereof. This inconsistency was anxiety-inducing, to say the least. I consider myself an extremely hard worker. I pride myself on that. But my hard work often felt like a waste because what I was working on would be changed within a couple weeks. It was hard to gain a rhythm. It was hard to feel like what I was doing had a purpose. Secondly, was a lack of behavioral and educational expectations. I am a strong, firm believer that our students are so much smarter than we will ever give them credit for and can behave as well or better than we command as a standard. Every year I taught in the district, it felt like the standard continually became lower. The building I was in felt like absolute chaos most days of the year, and it was visible in the conversations I had with other teachers, students, and parents in the district. Finally, the pay was simply lower than many of the surrounding districts. I moved on to work in a nearby district where my earning potential at the end of my career was nearly $20,000 higher per year. Year over year at the end of my career, that would be life-changing money. I don't say these things to condemn the district. Like I said, I really do love it here and I love the people here. I know that many of you truly do care. However, I also know that the only way any school district is going to thrive is if all the good teachers stay. The only way to ensure that is if we make it a place where people want to stay. We certainly face obstacles in Garfield, but we're not alone in the obstacles that we face. There are neighboring districts with extremely similar economic, demographic, and geographical circumstances that find a way to incentivize teachers staying. I hope that this is simply a helpful look into a perspective of someone who left. I thank you guys. I appreciate you, and I really did appreciate my time in the district. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. The next person on our agenda for comment is Bev Hastings. If she can approach and share her address with us for the record.
Hi, my name is Beverly Hastings. I live at 8908 Cranberry Ridge in Broadview Heights. I'm a former teacher at Garfield Heights. I was born and raised in Garfield Heights, and I lived right across the street from William Foster the year it was built. So you know I'm old. First of all, I would like to take a moment and offer prayers to the Bateman family. Their house is the one that was exploded this weekend, and we had all their girls in the district, and that was really upsetting to me. I wanted to talk about things that went on in this district, and as you could tell, my family graduated from Garfield. I had two sons that graduated from Garfield. I have two sons that have businesses in the city, and Garfield, blue and gold runs through my veins and runs through my children's veins. And Garfield means a lot to me, even though I moved 10 years ago. I'm really concerned about the district and the state of the teachers. I was honored when I was asked to speak here tonight, because I know what great teachers Garfield has and had, and they are running out the door faster than I think everybody realizes here. And it's because nobody respects these people, and they don't respect the job that they're doing. And I don't understand that. I mean, when I heard that 16 teachers today are leaving the middle school, when I started here, I didn't become a teacher until I was 40 years old. And you couldn't buy a job to get into the middle school. Now, you're going to be begging teachers to come into the middle school because nobody wants to work there. I mean, it's sad that you can't keep teachers here. I mean, this used to be a great district. And what's happened here? You have no consistency. I mean, I'm begging you as board members to go into the building on your own, without a principal, without somebody from the board office, and walk through and look what's going on in those classrooms. You have kids that are running that building, not administrators running the building. They don't back those teachers. You have to have consistency. When I started here, administrators backed the teachers. There was a consequence for a certain behavior. He just said everything I have written down, everything. And I worked with him. He was down the hall, and he knows exactly what was going on in the building. And you have to feel sorry for a new teacher when you say, okay, if you call a teacher a name, this is the consequence. Well, it might be a consequence for that kid, but it's not going to be a consequence for another kid. There has to be the same rules for every kid. And yes, there are different circumstances for different children, but you still have to back your teachers. When I started here, the first 4 or 5 years, we stood together as a unit. We didn't stand that way when I left. I put 20 years in this district. I had my own son suspended because at my house, my kids had consequences. I raised 2 boys on my own. And if they did something, they had a consequence. And they had a consequence at school, just like when we went to school. That didn't happen in the end. I don't understand what the problem is. If these teachers are not compensated. Why is the board getting a 3% raise, but the teachers don't get a raise? They work harder than the people up at the board do. They work just as much as they work. So it's time that you show them that they matter. I used to be in there every day at 6:30. You can ask Mr. Hankey. He knew I was there at 6:30. I was the first one there every day and the last one to leave. I spent hundreds of dollars of my own money to make games. There's parents here that can tell you that. Okay, I've been to more weddings, more baby showers, and more funerals of kids in this district than I care to admit. And there's teachers here that were there with me. And I'm sorry to see what's happening in this district. And I came here tonight because I care what's happening here. Ashley, we were there together and we talked. And I was like, we got to do something. I texted you when I was there telling you, help us. Help us. We got to stop what's going on. And that's why I'm here today. Because you see, they're going to be going out the door. We got to stop them. You know, it's no skin off my nose, okay, but it is off of yours. And if your children are in this district, we got to stop it before they're out the door. I don't have any kids in the district, but I do have blue and gold in my veins. Joe Doobie was 2 years ahead of me in school. It means something to him too, I know. Garfield, we're all bulldogs till our last breath. That's just how you are when you grew up here. That's all I have to say.
Step to the podium and share your address, Don Majors.
I'm Dawn Majors. My address is 43 North Parkway in Eastlake, Ohio.
Thank you and welcome tonight.
Thank you. I'm not speaking for myself. I was asked to read a statement from another GHTA member. The following statement was written by Rokisha Rogers, who served as a first-year school psychologist at William Foster Elementary School. As a first-year school psychologist in the district, I would like to briefly share with the board why, after serving one academic year in the district, I have made the decision to seek employment elsewhere. Ultimately, my decision primarily stemmed from lack of support in the district. When I interviewed for my position, I was told that I would be supported, that Garfield Heights is like a family. We're very resilient as a district, and we really want what's best for children. Unfortunately, I have come to discover that this is not always the case. A well-respected school psychologist within the community, Dr. Charles Barrett, wrote an amazing book titled, "It's Always About the Children." Sadly, with the current state of Garfield Heights City Schools, it's not about the children. Some of the decisions being made within the district do not prioritize our students as well as the educators who work with them. We can make it about the children when we prioritize and value those who work closely with our students so that they can ensure our kids are receiving an adequate educational experience. As educators, we need to feel supported, and our voices and concerns should not only be heard and considered, but valued and transferred into actionable terms. My hope for Garfield is that moving forward, you all would consider how you support your staff, whether they are first-year employees or have been with the district for over 20 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is Vince, and if you can just approach and confirm your address, please.
My address is 2315 Rock Drive, Ohio.
Thank you for coming this evening.
No worries. I also will be speaking on behalf of another GHTA member. I will be reading a statement from Joe Petit. Joe Petit stated, "I worked at Garfield Heights from 2012 into 2020 and left mid-year at the beginning of January 2020. Here are some reasons I left. For starters, the behavior of administration was antagonistic with teachers almost as a default. Teachers were constantly asked to give themselves, but never given direction or support. Teachers were targeted for petty tyrannical decisions if administration didn't feel supported by them enough, or if the teacher complained about anything. One teacher never taught the same grade level for longer than 2 years simply because she made her opinion known. Another teacher who taught eighth grade math for 15 years was suddenly switched to seventh grade after taking maternity leave. They never gave teachers any time in their position to truly succeed by constantly moving them from class to class and topic to topic. Al Saluka, the treasurer, would mock teachers who complained about the heat in their building, saying that he didn't turn the AC on in his office despite not having a body of 25 to 30 kids in his office and the windows bolted down. I kept the thermometer in my room and routinely read 100+ degrees in August. I would take a spray bottle of water and have kids raise their hand if they wanted or needed me to cool them down. Another reason for leaving was the teacher's pay. My first 3 years as a classroom teacher at Garfield, I lived below the poverty line. I bought 25-pound bags of flour and made every loaf of bread my family ate for 3 years because we could not afford bread. Garfield Heights is lowest paid district for teachers in Cuyahoga County, while having the second highest superintendent pay. A teacher can literally move to any district in the county and be guaranteed to make more money. Additionally, if a teacher took on the extra work of having a student teacher in the district would pocket the money designated for the teacher by the university with the argument, why would we give the money for doing less work? Contrary to this belief, anyone who has ever had a student teacher can tell you it actually is more work. At the beginning of the year, the treasurer and superintendent would get up on stage and would talk about how the district had no money for raises, but then give themselves raises come November. The board would also negotiate big raises for the OPSI union because the wife of a board member was on that union. Meanwhile, Garfield would not honor my first year of service as a 100-day tutor, followed by a long-term substitute position on the remainder for the year, despite having legally served the number of days of service required to be placed for the next step. Ultimately, my reason for leaving Garfield was all about respect. I never felt respected by the district, whether it was being ashamed by the superintendent for not showing up on a Saturday to canvass for a new football field, having that feeling confirmed when the president of the school board said that teachers are only paid to breathe from July to August, or when an Ohio Department of Education member finds that out you work for Garfield and tells you you're in the district that hates its teachers. After leaving Garfield, I have never been happier professionally. I work with an incredibly supportive group of administrators and go out of their way to let you know how valued you feel. If they feel welcome, encouraged, and critique, and will use those to improve themselves and the building. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person on our agenda is Evie Sedala. Sedala, thank you so much, and I apologize. If you could share your address to confirm.
6371 Eastendale Road, Mayfield Heights, Ohio.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. I'm gonna stand a little bit closer to the light, just so I can
Okay,
see
no,
what
that's
I'm
fine.
I was asked to speak by some of the teachers, and I am a former teacher in Garfield Heights, and I taught here for 32 years for a total career total of 38 years. Some of those years were absolutely wonderful, and I couldn't wait to come to school. And you didn't want to be absent because of all the things that were going on and the camaraderie and the kids and the whole thing. So it was a great place to work. Many of my former colleagues and students keep in touch with me through Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat. Years ago, I could never, ever imagine quitting teaching. Just the thought of it would bring tears. What would I do without all my kids? I was involved with student activities, tiered committees, served in various TA positions, including the negotiations team for several years. Then there came a time when the middle school had a revolving door made specifically for principals. Within 7 years, there were 5 different principals. Some of those were very good. Some of those were very inexperienced. The inexperienced administrators were set up for failure. Teaching at the middle school eventually became a challenge. The climate of the building gradually changed. The camaraderie became fractured. Sometimes I felt as if there was a huge bullseye on my back, and administration labeled me as a troublemaker because I dared to question the sensibility of certain changes. Coming to work was becoming a chore, and I would literally have to give myself pep talks to get out of the car in the morning and go into the building. Luckily, the kids are the ones that kept me going. I loved teaching, but it was becoming harder and harder. At first, I thought maybe it was because I was getting older. But the more I talked to people around me, and even the younger teachers, I began to understand that it was not just me, but that feeling was prevalent among the younger teachers as well. It was no longer just a middle school problem. Unrest was brewing in all the buildings. The atmosphere was no longer positive. More students, fights broke out, more disrespect from students, student apathy towards learning because students knew they would be passed on whether they passed classes or not. Discipline was inconsistent. School mottos were just words that had no meaning. Teacher morale became non-existent. The prevailing attitude was an us versus them, and the prevailing advice was watch your back. And as I drove away on my very last day of school, I wasn't sad. Instead, I was relieved that it was over. And I've been retired for 3 years now, and honestly, I wouldn't come back for all the money in the world with the way things ended. There are many factors involved in helping children be successful in school. Among these factors are family environment, a child's desire to learn, and school environment. Administrators constantly remind teachers that we cannot control a child's home or family environment, nor can we force a child to participate in his or her own learning. Our job as educators is to provide a safe, stable, and stimulating environment in which a student can be successful. As educators, we know that children cannot learn when their environment is in a state of chaos. Chaos threatens a student's safety. Chaos threatens the stability of a student's daily learning routine. Chaos threatens a student's ability to reach success. Students feel unsafe at school when there is a lack of common rules, lack of clear expectations, and a wishy-washy discipline code. As a result, students have a harder time paying attention, which leads to lower grades, and they experience more symptoms of depression, and they are absent at a much higher rate. But in addition to that, students who are going to a school that is in chaos are also likely to engage in risky behaviors, such as fighting, bullying, vandalism, and the danger of dropping out of school before graduating. A lack of school rules, clear school expectations for students, and a lack of discipline plan for students makes educators also feel unsafe. These feelings of being unsafe cause an increased use of sick days and mental health days, extreme fatigue, and higher symptoms of depression in them as well. These issues then lead to a higher rate of teacher turnover, which threatens the stability of a school and the school district. Stability is crucial to student learning. High turnover impedes student performance. It places large numbers of inexperienced, less effective teachers in classrooms, and that is not a slam against anyone that is just starting out. It's just simply that you have not learned the craft that you want to perfect. They also leave leaving new teachers on their own with little or no help in learning the intricacies of their craft. High turnover rates has caused a shortage of teachers. This means that the teachers who stay often pick up the slack, which then leads to a faster rate of burnout for those teachers. As a result, neither teachers nor students are able to perform at optimum level. This then threatens the academic success of students and the success of teachers as professionals. Success is the ultimate goal for both students and educators. A student must have the necessary tools available in all areas of development, academically, socially, and emotionally. Teachers must have the necessary resources to assist students in reaching success, teaching materials, clear expectations for students, clear discipline plan, and the unfailing support of the administration. It cannot cannot be an environment of board education and administration versus teachers. This attitude is ruining the success of students, of teachers, and of the Garfield Heights City School District. A board and administration cannot claim success when teachers are constantly being asked to do more for less. The number of teachers leaving the district for other districts or completely leaving the profession because of their experience in Garfield is a disgrace. There are no acceptable excuses. The time to make teachers continue to do more with less must end today. There are no acceptable excuses. Teachers deserve to work in a safe and stable and successful district. Teachers cannot be expected to pay increased health care that is providing significantly less coverage and sacrifice their raises. Teacher raises should be at the same rate as administrative raises. It is time for the board and administration to unequivocally support those who are at the very core of the district's success.
Thank you. If you can approach and share your address for the record, please. Good evening. Thank you.
I appreciate Julie and Dave and Bev and Don on behalf of Keisha, Ben on behalf of Joe and Evie. I took notes. I actually had 3 pages to read, but you guys have done a really fabulous job covering it all, and I don't want to take longer than necessary. We have a problem. Our teachers are being broken by our district, and our teachers are leaving. Our students deserve to see and develop relationships with teachers that are here year after year and have a clear picture of what their job is and what their goal is and what they need to be teaching their students. The main points that I've heard over and over again is the lack of teacher voice and a place at the table, the safety of our students and staff, and the consistency in student behavior. Our pay that's been stagnant since 2007 compared to other similar districts. We have gotten 7.5% in that time. Similar districts have gotten more than 20%. The lack of support, whether it's in the building or in the central office, the lack of value that our teachers feel, the lack of respect that they feel. Over 50 teachers have accepted or are considering accepting new jobs at other districts with better pay and better working conditions. Many more are still looking. Their reasons for leaving are simple: poor pay, lack of respect and support, and the lack of support regarding behavior. Our jobs at Garfield Heights are hard, but they don't have to be that hard. One of the reasons it's become so hard is that teachers here no longer have a voice. We have a problem, but I believe there's a solution. It starts with communication and collaboration. Teachers don't have all of the answers, but neither does the administration. Throughout my career, when we worked together, we came up with viable solutions that succeeded because all of the stakeholders were at the table. We will never succeed if teachers don't have a voice. Talking at someone is not a discussion. Telling someone what you plan to change or do is not collaboration. Communicating and sharing ideas without a fear of repercussion is communication and collaboration. Teachers must be part of this process for our students to succeed. The administration doesn't have all the answers. We don't either. If we truly work together, share ideas and reasons, create a safe environment, and pay a fair wage, we can become a district in which people will feel valued and want to be a part of again. A district where people will spend their career careers by choice. I believe it's possible, but I can't do it alone. Our students, families, teachers, and community deserve to have us working together for the betterment of Garfield Heights City Schools. I know I can play my part in making it happen, and I know you can too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 'cause we're pushing the 30-minute mark. Okay.
Yes,
Just let
if
you
there's
know.
no objection,
We can
to
just
the
push,
rest of
yeah,
the
they have-
board, we
there's
have one
2
more
minutes to go.
speaker.
So,
Okay. If there's no objections, is it okay for us to give the last person their 3 minutes per policy? I'm okay with us extending to 31 minutes. Our next person is Andrew Burke.
Andrew Burke, 16808 Larchwood Ave, Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you and welcome.
I was asked to read this. It's the writings of a former student. I did not write this. I'm just sharing to show support to the Garfield Heights City Schools teachers. Please note information posted was given to me. Information may not be accurate, but something does have to change for the teachers. On June 13th, 2022 at 6 p.m., the Garfield Heights Board Education will be holding a board meeting. The Garfield Heights teachers have been one of the lowest paid teachers in the county for some years now. The city of Garfield Heights has high taxes and majority of the money goes to the schools. Money doesn't go to the teachers. It goes to the treasurer and made up administration positions in the district. I asked, what are the made up administration positions? There is an office for teaching and learning. This office has a director, 2 supervisors, date and accountability coordinator, federal programs coordinator, curriculum consultant, and a secretary to the Office of Teaching and Learning Coordinator. Interesting, we have a whole office of learning coordinators, yet our children in the city are still testing/scoring low. Alan Sluka, treasurer, makes between $140,000 and $170,000 a year. The principals in every building and the made-up administration positions make over $100,000 a year. The teachers do not get any of that money. Every time the teacher contracts are up for negotiation, teachers only get 1%. The teachers definitely did not get any of the COVID money the district received from the government. How is it the Garfield Heights City Schools treasurer makes more money than the Solon City Schools treasurer? Solon has been #1 or #2 school district in the state of Ohio. It is not fair how the teachers at Garfield Heights have been treated. The school district is definitely going to be a revolving door as soon as the old generation teachers retire. We need help shining some spotlight on the shadiness going on in the district. The teachers are the ones who work hard with the kids in the city. The teachers are the mothers, fathers, friends, support team that some of the kids only have. Please share and hope people will come out to support the Garfield Heights City Schools teachers who taught you and made you the person you are today. I love the teachers here in Garfield Heights City Schools. That's it.
Thank you. Yes, that ends our portion of public participation. And the reason why we have our school board meetings before the public is because we do welcome public participation. So we thank you guys for coming out this evening and sharing your concerns and your sentiments that you have relative to the district. The Board of Education, I can speak on behalf of all of us, we welcome you to continue to come. We want to hear your voice at all times. You are a stakeholder. I find you to be a valuable stakeholder. But if you don't come and speak to us before the public meetings, we don't hear you. So we thank you today for coming out and giving us the opportunity to hear your voice. We welcome you to continue to come out so that we can hear your voice. Because unless you guys come and speak to us, then we cannot collaborate and hear the concerns that you have with the district. So again, thank you guys for coming out this evening. We thank you for courageously coming up and speaking before the Board of Education. And we welcome you and we look forward to your participation more and more throughout the future. I'm expecting we will need to move our board meetings to the high school in the future because maybe this was the first step for us building this relationship between the board and the stakeholders in our community. Is there any other comments?
Yes, Madam President. I just want to thank you, teachers, for coming out. But once every 3 years during negotiation. Why don't you come out every month?
Public. Order. Mr. Julie, order. We don't want to. Well, this is the public portion, public comment of our meeting has expired, and we are not able to take public comments anymore unless there's a motion on the table for the board to extend time. We have already extended the time, and we allow people to speak freely during that time. And we're gonna move forward with the meeting with the motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Can I add one thing, please?
Is there a second? I do apologize, but at this time, the portion of public comment has extended, and unless I get a motion to extend that, then we can move forward with your comment. I asked the Board of Education, is there a motion? We already have a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting. Can we have a second?
Second. Thank you.
Mr. Saluka, the motion to adjourn the meeting was moved by Mr. Juby. It was second by Ms. Thomas. Can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Juby?
So I can't say
Ms.
one thing?
Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Morrison?
When the teachers try to talk, there's a target on their back, and that's why they're afraid to talk. That's why they're afraid to talk. And I'll talk because I don't have a target anymore. I'm retired. That's why I'm here, to defend them. They can't do anything to me anymore.